Hey everyone. So I said a while back I was going to do this video. Let me start by saying this is not a real sword and it has no edge. And I would not be surprised if this video got demonetized because I'm talking about a weapon. Okay, and let me also state sorry, car alarm in the distance. I can't do anything about that. So let me start by saying I do not teach martial arts. I do not teach Japanese history. I don't teach Japanese. I don't study any of these things currently. I am a weapons enthusiast that loves the katana, and I wanted to make a video about the misconceptions that are commonly seen. Will my logic be flawed? Most likely. Will I say something stupid? Again, probably. But Metatron, specifically Metatron, because I've seen a lot of your content. I know I can trust you with this kind of thing. If you happen to see this and you want to debunk it, please go ahead. I really wouldn't mind, as I know this is your area of expertise and I'm not an expert. I am not an expert on swords. I am an expert on video games, honestly. That's where my expertise lies. Not swordsmanship, not history, but I do love the katana, and I want to go over the reality behind it to my understanding. Please, honestly, any of you in the swords community, understand that I know I'm not an expert, and I want to talk about the misconceptions, but I'm probably going to be wrong about a lot of what I say. So if you want to debunk this, if you happen to see it, please do so. I don't want to be saying the wrong thing, but chances are I will. So let's get started. I want to start by saying, after all that, this is not a real sword, it's a toy. It may be metal. It may be a metal sword, but it has no edge. See that? No edge at all. I can literally press against it and slide my finger and not get cut. It has no edge. I am not playing around with a real sword with a real edge. I want to be absolutely clear about that. This is a toy from a costume. But it looks real enough, and that's why I'm using it. It's what I have. So, the first thing I want to talk about is the katana is not a battlefield weapon. Yes, maybe they used it from time to time as a backup weapon, in case they lost their main weapon, their yari or their I don't know the Japanese names for a lot of weapons, but so say they were to lose their yari or their odachi, maybe their nakamaki, I don't know. I don't really know about the nakamaki very well. Then they might pull out their tachi or their uchiganta, which, so yeah, it's not a battlefield weapon. And this specifically is modeled after a ninjato, I believe. I believe that's what you call all the straight katanas. I don't know for sure, but I believe so. So, yeah, that's one thing I want to clear up. The katana, specifically the tachi and the uchiganta, I think those are the two weapons you would see. Not a battlefield weapon. There are some types that are battlefield weapons, but the shorter order katanas like the tachi are common in towns as self-defense cutters. That's what it was designed to be. A cutter designed to defend yourself, not fight other well-trained warriors. That's not what it was made for. The next thing I want to talk about is specifically what is a katana? Because I did just say that some types were battlefield weapons. Well, katana. So the most accurate translation I can find for what a katana really is, and a lot of my information did actually come from the Metatron. I may have gotten a lot of this wrong, and the big reason I am doing this is to bring this information to more people. But he also did a Misconceptions video on the katana. Anyways, so I want to talk about what is a katana. A katana, most accurate translation I can find was the one I saw in the Metatron's video, which is basically sword. It pretty much translates to sword. So that would mean this is a katana. Okay? The ninjato is a katana. The tachi is a katana. The odachi, otherwise known as big fat sword, is a katana. To my understanding, all of these would be what is considered a katana. It is a Japanese word for sword. Another big one you see everywhere, especially from weebs, is the katana is the best sword in the world. No, far from it. There are much better swords. Like as a battlefield weapon, the longsword beats out the katana in pretty much every category, except maybe durability, because the katana is a single-bladed, thick sword. Single-edged, not bladed. So it's not that battlefield double-edged blade of the longsword. It's also shorter than the longsword with most types of katana. So yeah, not the strongest sword in the world. Not designed to be the most powerful sword. It's also not designed to thrust. It can thrust. It's capable of it, but that's not what it's made to do. It is made to slash. It is made to bring down an attacker quickly and defend yourself. That's what it is. It is a self-defense cutter, and it is a very good sword at doing so. But it was never made to fight other armymen. It was made to drop an attacker quickly and defend yourself and your family. That's what the sword was made to do. Again, to my understanding, not an expert. Now, so no. Just because it's the thing everybody uses in a anime and that kind of thing, does not mean it's the strongest sword in the world. It's a good sword. It's a good cutter. But not the best. And there are others that say it's the worst sword in the world. Oh, it's so fragile. It's going to break. It can't really cut. No. It's a good sword. And okay, so it may not be the most durable. It is a pretty rigid sword. It can't really flex because of its design. That's gonna put a lot of pressure on the blade. But honestly, that allows it to do its job better. It doesn't need to survive smashing against armor. That's not what it's made for. Well, no sword's made to be beat against metal time and time again. But what the katana was designed to be, at least like the Tachi and Uchiganta kind of thing, was to defend yourself. That's what this is designed to do. Well, not this specific one. This is a ninjato. I believe that's what it is. A real version of this sword. I don't know the exact implication of a ninjato, but it is not a ninja tool like a lot of people think. That is just pop culture, just like the shuriken. Okay, neither of those are ninja tools. The ninjato, I don't know a whole lot about, other than it's a straight katana. I want to make that clear. I don't know much about a ninjato specifically. The another big one I have seen about the katana. Wait, sorry. Okay. So one thing, this is more of a technique thing. I saw a couple videos done by an actual school for Ido, which, again, I haven't studied Ido, so I don't really know, is you do not pull out the sword like this. I'm going to try to replicate the technique for drawing a katana best I can, but the sheath is I don't know what they call the sheath, okay, I don't. But it is not attached to my waist, so it's going to be more difficult already. But from what I saw of this academy in Rhode Island, this was on YouTube, so I don't know it's for sure trustworthy, but it gives an idea of how you would actually draw a katana. You don't just yank it out. So what you would do is you would bring the katana down, and then you would not do this. You would push it out like that. Okay, keeping the butt of the sword facing your opponent. And then you would turn it, get the sword ready, right at the edge. Although I think you're supposed to get it ready like that right here. Again, I don't know the actual technique. And then turn it to create a little bit of tension. Pull out, and then something like that, which I think would be called a wet umbrella. I think that's what they call that one. And then I am terrible at no-toe. I do not, that's the part of the technique I can't replicate at all. But, and then the last part I don't know at all how to do, so I'm not going to actually show it. But there is another step with backing away. It's not done as soon as you perform no-toe. But anyways, that's how you would really use a sword in a self-defense situation. It's not a weapon you would just have out. Okay, it's going to come out of the sheath, and you're not going to pull it out. You're going to push it out so that the butt is keeping your opponent at bay, and you're not... in any danger. If you do it like this, keeping the handle there to protect you, you're going to have a way easier time defending yourself while you ready your cut. Which, it's usually going to be a powerful single cut to bring down an attacker, to my understanding. And then you back away. The wet umbrella, I think, has some sort of symbology. There's also this, I think. Or wait, I think you actually bring it down here. I don't know the actual technique, again. But you're not just yanking it out and doing something like that. That's not how you swing a katana. That's not at all. Just no. That is just done because it looks cool. It's not actually proper form. It's not, again, not a long sword. A lot of the misconceptions I've seen actually are sort of like confusing a katana with a long sword, like how you just yank it out of the sheath. Well, I think that's what they would do. I don't know anything about Hema, I don't know how to say it. It's an acronym for Historical European Martial Arts, I think. Hema, maybe? I don't know how to say it. But that's where this, I believe, would come. Not... Whereas in Ido, you would go through each of those steps, ending on Noto, and then, which is the only step I actually know the name of, and then backing away with a certain thing. I barely know Ido. I saw a couple videos. I don't even know if they're a legitimate academy. All I know is you don't do this. That's not. Oh my gosh. If you do this with your katana, you're going to rip your sheath in half because of how they're made. And your opponent is probably going to strike you before you're ready. Especially because this does not provide you any form of defense while you're readying your blade. So, yeah, again, it's a katana, not a long sword. Another thing I actually wanted to go over a bit was, like, proper stance. You can't really... Hang on. Okay, you need to be able to see my legs for this. So, this would be a proper stance, I believe. You kind of need to see all of me. Where your legs are spread out, you're firmly planted in the ground, and your blade is threatening the enemy. Okay, you see in video games them do things like this. No. Just no. You don't have any sort of form with this. Your blade is just here. You can defend with this very easily. There, of course, are multiple stances. But also, if you happen to get into a bind, and again, katana, not a battlefield weapon, but if it were to come down to this, and these stances are just sort of mainstream as far as legs. If you were to happen to get into a bind, okay, you're going to be pushed back and your opponent's going to get an opening to strike. This is because you have no traction like this. You have zero traction like this. like this, your weight is all concentrated on your lower legs. So you're way less likely to be knocked off balance and struck. That's with any sword. That's with any weapon, honestly. So yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions around katanas. I'm sure I don't know them all. But I did want to talk about a couple other misconceptions. One of which being one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. A sword cutting armor like butter. This appears in everything. Okay? I've even seen it in a couple documentaries. Age of the Samurai comes to mind. This is ridiculous. It's like everyone that ever talks about swords thinks armor doesn't exist. If it didn't work, they wouldn't weigh themselves down to wear a very more encumbering version of a shirt. That's what it's portrayed as. A heavy shirt, basically. You're not gonna cut armor like butter. Even gambeson is going to be harder to cut than in just basic clothing. And also there's some armors that are just better than others. Some is better at blocking certain things. So yeah, you could go through certain types of armor with the right attack. Like, I'm pretty sure a really sharp thrusting weapon can probably go through gambeson pretty easily. But gambeson is really, really strong against, I believe its ideal protection is blunt. But you're going to have a very hard time getting through something like, I think it's called Brigand or Brigand, something like that. I don't know. Armor is Shadiversity's area of expertise. Again, I'm an enthusiast, not an expert. Maybe I'll be an expert one day, but I don't have time right now to take classes on this kind of stuff, as much as I would love to. But yeah, no weapon is going to go through armor like butter. It's not going to happen. Okay? There's a reason there's no blade on a butter knife. Because butter just slashes. It's just such a clean cut with really anything. So yeah, armor is not butter. Even thin metal, like Japanese armor during the Warring States era, like, that's going to be harder to cut than cloth. Okay? You're not going to get through metal super easily. Armor that thin, yes, maybe you can get through it with a powerful enough cut. But it's not going to just be like, boom, you've cut through your enemy. It's not just, you're not just going to go like, and cut through. That's not going to happen. It's going to take a pretty powerful attack, like that. Which, notice how I stepped forward in my attack? That's because you don't just use your arms in an attack. When you go to strike, you use your entire body. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you're going to throw out your arms, which that's also why you often see the leg that's opposite your dominant hand, I guess would be the way to say it. The one that controls which way the blade goes. This is because you want to step forward. That's a powerful strike. Not this. This is never going to cut as well as this. Or this. It's never going to work nearly as well. Never. Okay? Instead of using that, like this, you're putting everything into your cut. Now, even then, you have to think about your opponent's not going to let you strike. Okay? Your opponent's not going to let you kill them. You're going to have to find some way to defend and cut. I don't know how you would properly do that, but even low stance, you're way more likely to get an effective cut like that. And my edge alignment is likely off, but this going to be a more powerful cut than this. This is just going to tell your opponent what you're doing and likely be less powerful because you're only putting your arms into it. Again, it's not a golf club. You're not swinging a golf club. You're swinging a sword. That is a proper slash. Again, for such an attack, you would have to not have an opponent trying to defend against you. But it's going to be more powerful than a predictable attack. And also, a real sword master could just go like, which I know that probably didn't look, oh, you probably couldn't even see it. A real sword master could probably swing that quickly, so it's probably going to be very difficult to defend against, especially if you come from up here. It's going to be very hard to block that much force with a blade of equal or lighter weight, which that's another thing I want to talk about. Last thing I want to talk about. This goes for most swords. I'm not going to do like, I'm not just going to let this thing go because I don't really know where the point of balance is. But point of balance is key. Yeah, so see right there? It's not the direct center of the blade like you may think. In reality, usually a sword's going to have more weight in the handle and handguard than the blade itself. This is to protect yourself. Well, control the blade. Point of balance is something every blade needs, or you're going to have a very, very bad blade. It's not going to be an effective weapon. Swords are expertly made with point of balance in mind. All expertly made weapons have point of balance in mind. Every single one does. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is also generic with swords, and that is weight. A sword is not this super, super heavy thing most people cannot use. Okay? A great sword may take a little training, but let's get this straight, okay? I believe the heaviest sword is about 14 pounds, which I believe is a really long claymore, okay? A European greatsword, which 14 pounds is not that much. The reason for this is you have to be nimble with your blade. You have to be nimble. I'm just swinging wildly. There's no technique in this. But notice how I'm able to move quickly. That is key with any sword. And great swords are a different thing. There's a whole different style with them. But like, if I wasn't If this blade was off balance or heavy, I'd probably be swinging more like this, as opposed to... See the difference in speed? Honestly, a sword can't be heavy, or you're compromising its effectiveness. Again, greatsword would be different, as it's not as light, but you can spin it. I'm not going to spin in here because I have technology in here and very little space. For anyone going to debunk this, note, I'm not a professional YouTuber, as you can probably tell. I don't have very good equipment. But yeah, I'm not going to spin in this area. But yeah, there's a very specific way you can spin with a greatsword that makes it very difficult to get in close. This goes for any greatsword, but you're not going to just... A heavy sword's never going to work. Okay? And for such things, I recommend the Metatron and Shadowversity, Skullgrim. These guys really know what they're talking about when it comes to actual sword statistics and weight. Like, okay, so for a weapon like Cloud Strife Buster Sword, let's use that for an example. You need more than strength. You need super toughness, super mass, and super strength to use a weapon like that without killing yourself or leaving yourself vulnerable. That's going to do more harm than good if you don't have all three. So you would have to be all around superhuman. All around. You're never going to just have enough strength, even in a fantasy setting, that it's going to be enough to swing a sword like that this fast even. That's just not going to happen. A real greatsword can't move this fast. There's a different way you fight with that. You're never going to swing a real sword, or sword that big, this quickly. Not going to happen. Now, again, I have probably gotten a lot of things wrong in this video. I'm not denying that. And, again, those of you out there that really know swords, Skullgrim, Metatron, Shadowversity, any of you guys, please know I would not be upset if you debunk this. In fact, if you find this video and debunk it, I'd love for you to let me know in the comments. Of course, I'm subscribed to both Shadowversity and Metatron, so I'd probably see it if one of you did it. But, as my name suggests, I'm not a swordsman. I'm a gamer. I know I probably did a lot of things wrong in this video. And I know I probably got a lot of things wrong. Especially when talking about Ido, because I've never actually studied it. Now, I don't have many sources for this, honestly. I mean, a lot of my information came from the Metatron, and just what I've heard from those before mentioned YouTubers. Honestly, that's where most of my information comes from. That and personal belief. So, I'm probably not very credible on this, unlike those I have mentioned. This is a disclaimer I probably should have put at the beginning, which I kind of did, but I'm not an expert. I'm an enthusiast. And the real point of this video is to show I care about these misconceptions and to send you all to YouTubers that can actually tell you. I'm not the expert. Maybe one day if I start studying, if I get the chance to study Aido, Kenjutsu, maybe Kendo. I'm a little iffy on that one. But without proper training in those, I can't give any real expert information. If I actually do study one of those sometime, I could maybe show some techniques. But I just want to say again, I am not an expert. I am not like the Metatron or Skologram or Shadiversity or the other sword YouTubers that I can't really pronounce your names. I'm sorry. I just want more people to understand. The katana is a very misunderstood weapon that needs to be seen properly. Not this magical sword that can cut anything and all these other misconceptions that just aren't true. That's the purpose of this video. If you want proper information, there's all kinds of sources. If you find something on like the Smithsonian, or you hear something from Metatron, Skologram, Shadiversity, I keep mentioning those three because those are the three I watch. I don't know why I haven't subscribed to Skologram, honestly, but yeah. Those three are amazing. They are true experts in weaponry. I'm just an enthusiast. And I know this is a bit of a long video, but yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. Real life is not as simple as the video games I play on my channel. Real weapons, real anything is going to be more complex. And I've probably gotten a lot wrong. I'm not a master. As much as I wish I was, so I could properly talk about these things and say I know what I'm doing, I'm not an expert. I want to make that abundantly clear. This is not where my expertise lies, but it is a passion of mine. And one thing I know these guys are going to agree with me on, especially Metatron, because he's actually ranted about it too, is a sword is not gonna cut armor like butter. Maybe a powerful swing from a big greatsword downwards could do some pretty good damage to softer armor designed to protect against blunt, but like gambeson, but it's not going to protect, it's not going to cut through metal armor like nothing. And another thing is you never see shields break. They're made of the same stuff. This is what I had to say about Katana misconceptions and a few other things. I'm expert again. Give me a little time and I will link all three channels I have mentioned in the description below. Just give me a little time to do that. As they are my main sources, I will not forget to link them. Alright. See you all in the next video.